A few people have asked what the rest of the studio looks like. That's it. That's how much you're going to see right now, because this is most of the area that has been cleaned up and somewhat organized. Everything over here is bullshit. But yeah, so and all of this collection still needs to be put back together and everything else like that. It's got a lot of other lighting and stuff like that, but I'm going to focus on recording this video here on the other side of this phone. Flip this back around. There we go. Okay. Back to the main viewpoint. Main viewpoint. You know, have you guys ever been speaking and you'll add an extra word onto something and it doesn't mean what I meant to say was back to the main view, and I was back to the main viewpoint. Just something I noticed about myself right now. So the other day I was talking about Universal Manufacturing, or Giroto. I think I called it Giroto because that was the name it was known as. And out of the blue, I had forgotten that I had some stuff left over from that. A buddy of mine who had worked there with me at the time was kind enough to save a lot of my game stuff that I had designed, which is stored somewhere else. But of all the things I found was this wonderful little artifact here. It says, transfer disk, send back. Please return to Universal Manufacturing Corporation, 5450 Daramus, Kansas City, Missouri, 64020. And then attention, Carla, my boss. This is exactly what you think it is. It's a zip disk. And I do have a zip drive. At some point in time, I'm going to open it up and take a look. It's Mac formatted, though, so I worry it's not going to work on my PC. I'll have to load it up on the Mac upstairs. So that was a nice little trip down memory lane to find that. It kind of fired up a whole bunch of different things for me, where I started thinking about, wow, again, legacy, time, what's past, what's gone by. I had a few of you people reach out, which was nice, and some people comment. No, I was not feeling extra depressed in the last video. It was a little bit of fatigue, some frustration with the book I'm working on currently. So by the time I had recorded the video, I had just a lot on my mind, but I was also thinking, this is just something that I go through, but I was thinking a lot about the aspect of the subject of mortality and humans and everything. I don't think I'm going to get a soda because I'm thirsty. You know what? Real quick, offsite or offshoot of this. See? Offsite. What the fuck? I was loading up Twitch to have it playing in the background so that way you guys could see Mystery Science Theater 3000. I don't know if it's just because I've been typing Sonic Drive-In into the comments as of late, because different people I've been watching have been eating on their streams and stuff, which I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing. I wouldn't want to eat on my stream. Is that a thing? Is that how you make affiliate? But every single time I load Twitch now, Sonic is the advertisement I see. And then I suddenly want a chili cheese dog. I want a chili cheese Frito pie burrito. I had something I was actually going to talk about, and it's whoop right out. I am going to start making show notes for this stuff. Just like anything else I do for YouTube, I'll often forget right when I'm like, I'm going to talk about this. I don't need any prompts. I don't need anything. I'll be perfectly fine. And I did tell myself that these were going to be about what happens during my days and what I see or I encounter. There really hasn't been a whole lot. It's been really quiet. On the freelance side, I got one project done pretty quickly. Just waiting back for, feedback on that, and then I'm going to send off an invoice on that one. And then there's another project I'm just waiting to hear back from that client and see where they want me to head. Freelance is such a weird thing like that. I don't know how many of you do that are watching this, but isn't it such a weird thing when you're just like, I don't know what the fuck to do today. I mean, I have shit to do. I'm working on my comic book, the graphic novel I'm working on. I've got my second graphic novel to edit. My Etsy store certainly needs attention. And my website could always use a bunch of updates. In fact, that's the one thing that I've really been dreading. The organization. And I'm not even talking about the shit show I just showed you here at the beginning of the video that was the other half of the studio. My little personal 1980s museum. No, what I'm talking about is just the organization of figuring out what I want to do next. In fact, I was on a coaching call for this lady does really wonderful coaching segments where she'll help people out with their businesses, specifically growing your art to higher numbers. Now, I'm on the outlier because I'm a comic creator and I do comic shows. Most of our clientele are the sorts of artists that do specifically gallery shows, or they go out and they do those big street shows. Those are much different sort of things, but it's still selling art. So I'm always intrigued by the sort of answers and interactions that people will give when they get on camera and get a chance to talk to people. You know, not just her, but everyone can hear the conversation. And she takes volunteers for that. I was more than a little bit overwhelmed by these two ladies that when they got on there, they were immediately, especially the second one, and I'm not going to say any names because this is not making fun of them. It's just, I specifically commiserated in that moment, like that. It was like, oh, that's me, fuck. One of them was like, well, I really want to get things done, and I really want to take care of stuff, but I've got to get my studio clean. And then I realized that the rest of the house has to be clean, and so the lady doing the coaching is like, okay, but which one is taking priority? And she's like, well, both of them are taking priority, and both of them need to be done. And I can't get one done without the other one being done. And I need to work on both of them at the exact same time because there's other things I have to get done. The raising anxiety levels I had were insane. And I don't think I was alone in feeling that. And this is, again, nothing against this person, nothing against this lady. She was venting. She was displaying something that I believe a lot of people today, creative or not, are enduring. This whole fucked up aspect of, when the fuck am I going to catch up with life? I have an incredible list over here on one of my planning boards. I just looking at it right now, I was like, and that's okay. Because I can only get one thing done at a time. And that's a special pet peeve of mine, is multitasking. Doesn't really exist for me. Well, hold on. There's probably a small caveat to that. I'll give you an example. If I had another video that I was waiting that was rendering or something, I would have done that on the computer and it would automatically be done and saved to a specific file location. And I would go ahead and record a video or do something else at the same time. That's kind of multitasking. There are often times that as I'm running around in the house, I'll grab laundry to put to wash or take out the trash or do something en route to getting to another area of the house or on my way out the door. That's multitasking, kind of. But is it? Man, maybe that's what this should be about. Fucking multitasking. Boom, there we go. Got a subject. Good. I was freaking out there a little bit. Especially in corporate America. You'll get people that are like, I can multitask, watch me. I know somebody. And I often am like, I don't know what the fuck is happening here. When I was working for them, I witnessed them do this. This was fucked up. Again, not making fun. I was a nervous wreck just encountering this. I was called into a meeting in the office that they had. And I went in. I remember sitting down and I had my little, pen, had my little notebook. I sat it down. And when I get into a meeting, I'm laser focused. I'm on you, right? Finger guns. And that's all I am. I tune the fuck out of everything else, because if you've watched any of my other videos, all you guys know now that in most circumstances, I'm pulling my phone out and hitting record and setting that down. I am paying attention and I'm doing my best, but that phone is my Hail Mary pass. That's the whole thing. I need that. I'm going to take copious notes. I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to try not to draw on the margins and shit. I'm going to pay attention. But much to my chagrin and kind of half shock, I'm in this meeting, and I only call it a meeting because there was more than one person in there. And I don't mean in a roundtable discussion. You see, I was in there and she's talking to me at the same time that she's typing an email. Okay, I can handle that. Except there was also somebody on hold, and then on the other line, there was somebody she was talking to and listening to. She had him muted. So was meeting with me, writing an email to somebody else, and letting this person talk, because I guess it was a conference call. I hope it wasn't a direct call. But she was still trying to listen intuitively to that. Then I noticed the cell phone had somebody sitting there who they were talking to in tandem with me, but not about the job. It was something personal. I don't know why, but that pissed me off so much, man. I was like, what the fuck? I can just come back. There are few things in this world that anger me beyond the inattentiveness that most people seem to have gotten. But I know that I'm something. What I do is very weird. It's down to the point to where I'll give you a perfectly good example. If I'm on YouTube and I watch a video, I know enough about YouTube that unless I'm in a hurry or something cataclysmic or unexpected has happened, if I begin watching a video, I'm going to watch it all the way through. Even if I don't like it, I will watch it all the way through. There's always exceptions to the rule, but most of the time I do that because I know that somebody took the time to put this thing together for somebody, and I know that somebody really put a lot of work into the presentation and just the time to speak and to just be there on video. Now, whether or not I watch it in repeat performance, I don't know. But there are some channels. One that comes to mind is any channel that will do video essays or, things like that. There's a lot of content on YouTube and on Twitch I don't really care about. But if it's game playthroughs or if it's retrospectives or if it's video essays, I'm all in. Mini documentaries, behind the scenes shit, how-to videos. Oh my God, I'm right there. And I often believe I owe it not only to the creator, but to myself to watch the whole thing through. That is experiencing it in its whole. Now, going from that aspect, that is exactly how I am whenever I am encountering and talking to anyone in a meeting. If I'm having a meeting with somebody, I don't like to talk over them. Yeah, I often think about it in the same way. Have you guys ever watched a video of any interview, or maybe seen one in person, where the interviewer doesn't really let the interviewee complete any questions wholeheartedly? Or in the sake of time, they'll often interject. I have always found those sort of interviews to be really oddball. And I see it a lot on like late night talk shows and stuff. I'm rather blown away though, because the show hosts that I would look up to, like Johnny Carson, would sometimes let people just run with a story. There are other people that interview that when they're doing this sort of thing, they really want the emotion, the story, the laughter, the comedic timing to work. And they don't interject themselves in there. Well, in a personal conversation or a meeting like this was, it drove me completely nuts. The whole aspect of multitasking was bullshit to me. It didn't make any sense at all. There wasn't anything there that was multitasking. I think what it was a dilution of trying to work. And I promise you, somebody out there is going to maybe watch this video and be pissed off and be like, fuck you, I can multitask. I don't think it's true multitasking. I really don't. It's my opinion. You're welcome to yours. But I really do believe that, I'm not multitasking, taking a drink and doing the video. I'm taking a drink and then returning to the video. And that's pretty damn simple. That's a terrible example. I'm just fucking around now. That was something that even in jobs that's been pushed so hard is multitask. I think the negative that has come from that, the connotation we take about it that just weighs us down, is in our everyday life, we should be doing all the shits, right? We should be doing all the things. And then you'll watch some motherfucker on Facebook or Instagram or something like that, that the way they paint themselves is just like, did you not include, did no one notice that today I like totally solved like the riddle of life and cured cancer, and I like saved 60 dogs from the Ukraine, and I also made world peace in, you know, Nairobi? Like, that's the kind of shit, like, and that's all terrible to joke about, but there are people that I will see that it is a wonder they can stand up from how much they fucking pat themselves on the back for trying to appear like they've done it all. And if they did, fantastic. I know some people that are literally the human Energizer Bunny. There's one particular dude, I'm leaving his name out, but if you know who he is, you know who he is here in Kansas City. That dude is literally, if crack and the Energizer Bunny had a baby. And he is into CrossFit, which makes him 10 times more fucking annoying. Not that I hate CrossFit, but fuck, shut up. I don't want to hear about it. And I'm certain, though, people have been just like, I don't really want to hear about Legos. So, yeah, you know, fair play. I often think to myself, you know, with this whole multitasking thing, how it has truly affected us and what ended up happening. One of the sickest exponential ways I've seen it happen, though, is whenever a company will really think of the multitasking aspect as a badge of honor. Or maybe not a badge of honor, but something to aspire to. One of the last places I worked, this fucking annoying thing called Lunch and Learn. Fuck that. There is no circumstance where I want to eat a burger and think about corporate bullshit. No, not happening. I remember if I knew there was a Lunch and Learn, I just didn't show up. I wasn't really even that necessary. That's the crazy part. I think it's one of the things that, without a doubt, convinced me that I was disposable, that everyone was. Because I could miss out on a meeting and nobody really said shit. I mean, because that's actually, that job in particular, the company was falling apart. That wasn't my fucking problem. And there were so many people at one point that they just kind of slipped through the cracks. Or, well, yeah, I wasn't feeling good. Or, yeah, no, sorry, I totally forgot. I spaced. I was watching the children sing carols one Christmas. Whatever, make up some bullshit excuse. But it always came down to the fact that I didn't feel comfortable going and getting a lunch and choking it down or leaving it to the side because I didn't want to have lettuce in my teeth or some stuff, or accidentally dump my drink on the table. If I eat, I'll eat with friends or I'll eat by myself. That is like personal time. That is my time to say, I don't really care about these numbers and these papers and these files and these things. I'm going to do this. Even now, if I'm eating, I'm eating. I often get pissed when I find myself looking at email I'm like, no, don't do that, because you're trying to multitask and what you're doing is you're shitting on your personal time. But I don't necessarily blame people for why it happens. I don't. I think a lot of times we're forced into circumstances, lateral movements, you know. A lateral movement, you're getting a lateral movement. You're not getting a raise, but we're going to give you more responsibility. You're not actually going to get more help, but we're going to give you more props. We'll probably give you an email certificate of winning. It's just insane. And this isn't shit I'm making up. I've worked corporate long enough. I worked other places long enough that you look at stuff like that and you go, what the fuck? Like, really? What the fuck? And I think that multitasking was a bizarre offspring of the corporate need to make people indoctrinate themselves into the culture of that lifestyle. Now, not everyone falls for it. Not everyone does it. And not every company is like that. But the ones I worked for were. I distinctly remember one time that we had a really cool manager. She since left, and this is just so if she ever sees this video, I am thinking about her because she was a really rad lady. She went on to move on to the Tyson Chicken Company. She left where I was working and went there. But when she was there and she was my boss, she had this really, really kick-ass idea. And a friend of mine, Lonnie, was like, we need to go and do this. and it was it was when the escape rooms were all the rage. I forget what the escape room was. I'm going to tell you something. If you think you have a good job, convince your manager to let you guys all go do an escape room. You'll find out real fucking fast who the real MVPs are and who the bitches are. There's one dude that, like, when he was at work, he was like the shit. He was like, I'm an alpha male. And then he got there and he was mad. He was petulant. I was like, God damn. Like, it changes your view of it. I've often said that about people, too, in the reenactment communities, or when you're camping or you're doing something like anything that involves somebody being outside of a preordained comfort zone that they have established for themselves within some working aspect. It's easy to do that within an office space because you tread the same carpet rows, you walk past the same cubicles, you talk to the same people, you drink the same coffee, yada, yada, yada. The moment that you get out into anything that introduces any level, any modicum of chaos into it, that infringes upon a person's capacity to look like they have their shit together, nah. Explosive diarrhea at its best. And I truly mean that. I remember there was a particular thing we had to do, and Home Slice lost his shit. So one of the things we had to do, I mean, it was crazy because everyone, I don't know if it was like where they think that the footage of us being in there was going to be sent back to the manager and that was going to promote us. I literally just watched. I love to people watch sometimes, and I was just watching everyone like, what the fuck is happening? But my friend Lonnie and I did kind of get some clues together, and we tried our best to really kind of hold people together during this thing. But this one particular dude, this motherfucker, at one point, he found a remote, right? Like, not like a TV remote, like a fucking like radio controlled car remote. He was like, this is a clue, I know it is. And I love that everyone turned into either fucking Angela Lansbury or Columbo. Like, and the best we could pull off was some Scooby-Doo shit. I shouldn't even knock them. They get the job done. It takes them a couple pizzas and a lot of thinking, but they get it done. This was just sad what we were doing. And I remember that he got mad. He grabbed his controllers like somewhere, and then there was a glass tile on the floor. Way down at the bottom, you could see it in the basement. There was a tank. And I'm talking like a little fucking G.I. Joe looking Mobat tank down there with a little antenna. And he's like, it moves. You had to get it to move to a certain point and get the turret to push a button and then back up as it was blinking. And then it would bump into a bigger button. When it did that, it opened a door by radio control upstairs. I believe that was what it did. He wouldn't let anyone else do it. The man got so frustrated, he was banging the controller on the floor. He was yelling obscenities. That is the very first time I've ever seen a grown man who wasn't drunk at a bar. I've seen that before. But a grown man drool in anger. Like, just uncontrollable, like sitting there staring down and cussing and drool coming out of his mouth. It was fucking unhinged. And all I could think to myself was like, dude, this ain't that big of a deal. I mean, like, I would like to think that if I was stuck in a room and it was like fucking Saw the movie, or somebody said, hey, if you don't get out, you know, the bomb we implanted in Mario's anus is going to fucking blow up. I'm hoping to God my team members can pull their shit together, because don't no one want a booty bomb to go fucking off. So, you know, that's my whole thing. Like, not maybe Lonnie, yeah, she was chill, she was down with it, and she understood, like, yeah, we're fucked. We didn't win. We fucking didn't get out of there. We fucking died. I considered it the murderer won. We sucked. There's no way. Naked and Afraid, we'd have fucking died on the island. That's all there was to it. It's fucking bullshit. But it was fun. It was fucking fun. And the best part, I know I requested to have the fucking photo, because like when you get done, you're supposed to pose with the key for, like, you know, the group you went in with. Not I'm such a shit starter. In the photo, I'm almost certain, because they took 2 shots. The first one, I wasn't paying attention. I was like, oh, photo, wait, let's take the photo again. Everyone except for me and Lonnie are annoyed. And I really love the fact that I was like, well, now I know what the true colors of these people are. Because other people did other shitty stuff too. And when they took the picture, I saw it posted online. I never thought to save it. And it made me so mad that I don't have a copy of that photo. In that photo, this was just something I was known for at the company. Like, people were like, oh, it's finger guns. Everyone else looks just mad. It's like a family who got annoyed on a vacation. The whole thing looks like that. And the the really deranged, like, kid brothers in the back, like, so stupid. It was so fucking dumb. And I had a blast. It was pretty freaking rad. I really did. And then later, here's what gets me about corporate mentality and the whole thing. And this is coming back around to multitasking and everything else like that. Because sometimes I think people use multitasking to bullshit their way through lives too. It was really funny because, like, we all worked in the same area. And later, I remember I caught up with my boss who was over the whole area, who had sent us out there. And I was like, I want to thank you. That was amazing. I love that escape room. She seemed relieved. She was like, oh my God, that's so good. I didn't really hear anything from the other two groups that went. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, I really may have messed this up. I enjoyed doing it. And I was like, no, it was. And I forget, when you work in a corporate environment, you shouldn't really cuss or anything else like that. But I think they just kind of were like, well, he rides the short bus or some shit. I don't know what the fuck they thought. Which, there's nothing wrong with that. I did used to ride that. But whenever they would talk to me, I would often cuss. So I think they just thought I had, like, Tourette's or something. I don't know. Or maybe I just spoke my mind. I actually have no idea. Now that they don't work there anymore, I feel like reaching out on LinkedIn or something like that, except I closed my LinkedIn account, and being like, hey, so real talk, was I okay when I worked for you? I'm almost too horrified to really ask that. But I remember talking to her in the hallway and being like, hey, no, it was a blast and everything. So angry radio control man comes around the corner with another dude, and he sees me talking to her, runs up and was like, hey, and he says her name, and he's like, I just want to let you know that was so much fun. Me and him, team, man, teamwork. And I'm thinking, what? Who the fuck are you? Like, I didn't, like, I couldn't process it. I know it was him. Yeah, right? That was him. But we had distinctly, like, amnesia level different memories, different memories of what the fuck happened. And I couldn't, I was like, yeah. And those are moments when I'm honestly thinking to myself, that was some serious multitasking. Because he took the time to walk away from a client to come over, talk some kiss butt bullshit, and lie. So, and it's not really my place to be like, yeah, he was a bitch. Like, he didn't do shit right. He got mad. He was petulant. He was weird. And I don't feel bad saying that, because, I mean, I have times too where I'm like, oh man, let me get sick. Oh, I'm fucking insufferable. But if I'm hanging out with people, man, it is hard enough in this day and age to find a group of people to be comfortable around and chill and be okay being yourself, right? And especially if it's in a work area, man, you don't know these people. This ain't the time to bring out, like, your trauma and your bullshit. I say that as I speak to a bunch of people in a weird form of anonymity on a video. But this was something where we were actually interacting. It was just a really weird circumstance. And in so many of those ways, like, whenever multitasking comes up or that sort of thing, I'm reminded of one. There was a lady. This was same job. I was at that job for a long time. Same job. And this was a circumstance where I had a direct boss. I had so many bosses. It was like straight out of the Office Space movie. The boss I had was actually pretty cool. Very nice fellow. And because of the time I would come in, he and I would work a little later than everybody else to some degree. Sometimes I got off a little earlier. But I remember being there one particular day when a lot of the other people were out of the office. So it was just me and him kind of talking. He was a real nice guy, and I knew enough to kind of keep my language toned down, and to also, remember, hey, he's a fairly spiritual fellow and everything, and I got no problem with that. Whatever, that's cool. But you keep your mindset on a, well, I'm gonna filter this to clean. I was still myself, but just not as offendingly jovial, I guess is my word that I'll use to describe that. And I felt so bad when I saw firsthand how like this whole multitasking bullshit could just wreck somebody's whole fucking day. He's having a good day. In fact, he was really happy because if I remember right, he had just gotten a play to go through that he was going to be directing and being part of. And he was also, I think he was also the person that did some of the music for it. Because we used to talk guitar stuff all the time. And one day we're sitting there, and when you sat in our area, it was not hard to hear people bustling around because nobody really came through our area unless it was a coworker specifically heading back to their little cubicle area. And I hear, which is the linoleum that was a little distance from us, and then somebody's in the carpeted area you're in. And I see this brunette walking down, kind of looking around, everything else like that. Makes eye contact with me, looks past me, walks down. There was this massive pillar right outside of my cubicle. Thank God, it might as well have been in my cubicle, like Mr. Incredible level office working kind of thing. But she sees my boss, makes a beeline right over. And he's got his headphones in, he's working away on something in Excel, which he was fucking excellent at. And she says, hey there, says his name, and then introduces herself. And I will never forget this conversation. She goes, hey, okay, so nice to meet you. So I'm here for just a bit. I have a few things, a couple of questions, everything else like that. By the way, fantastic email. Great. It was amazing. Loved it. Hit all the right notes. I didn't read it, but it was just the right thing at the right time. So what I need you to do, if you don't mind, I've got some time, and maybe just on a high level, you could kind of give me the quick points, the A, B, and C, and the X, Y, and Z, so that way I'm a little bit more prepped. And what the fuck is prepped? For the meeting, I have here in about 10 minutes. Can we do that? Literally sat down, pushed his shit over, and just sat and stared at him. That is a level, now that's really just fucking rudeness. But I thought to myself, that had to have been some form of multitasking, right? Somebody coming along and being like, your job doesn't matter, and I'm about to infringe the fuck out of your space with my bullshit. I remember turning and looking over, and the look on his face was like shock. But at the exact same time, like the turmoil of like, I'm a manager, I'm not going to say anything bad. He fucking took it like a champ. I know I'd have been fired. I would have said some shit, and I'm not fucking kidding. I didn't like shit. That's why I was never a manager. I never got a fucking promotion in that company. And that's okay. I didn't want one. But the crazy part was that I remember seeing that look on his face, and I thought, damn, that's some fucking disrespect. And when you see things like that, you're like, what the hell, man? Like, why? And it's crazy how much, the corporate mantra is, I'm going to talk to you. I'm not listening to you. You're going to listen to me. And this is how we're going to go about it, because I'm your boss, or I have influence over you, or I know your boss. And technically my boss is your boss's boss. So yeah. I like to think that whenever anymore I talk to somebody, I'm taking my fucking time listening to them, and I am not going to multitask. Even when I do these videos, like when I was talking about earlier, if I have a video file processing, or I'm got something else saving, or I don't know, something like that, that's one thing, man. But the whole aspect of that is just nuts. And I've seen it happen in other circumstances too, but it's always been corporate things. When I worked in more blue collar jobs and everything else like that. Like specifically when I worked on the cattle ranch, you better not be multitasking. Fucking cow will kick your goddamn temple off your face. Like you fuck around, and it's because what we did there was cattle insemination. Yeah, fuck around and do the wrong thing on a cow and see how that turns out for you. One of my favorite hobbies, and I don't have any of the miniatures on hand real close to me. One of my favorite hobbies was working on small miniature metal figurines for Warhammer and different role-playing games. And when I did them, I would paint them really meticulously. In fact, it's behind glass. I don't want to fuck with that right now. But one of my very first miniatures I ever painted, I was 16. And I remember falling in love with the whole thing of painting. This is before I had to wear like the extra large multi-viewpoint lens thing so that I could see everything like Geppetto. And I really loved being able to sink into the idea of letting myself go and just painting up this dark elf, this gypsy, this dwarf, whatever it was. That's a pretty rad feeling. And it distinctly, devotedly needed that attention, that moment, stuck with it. I always remember how much happier I was doing that. I have a whole case over here filled with a lot of different Lego sets. I got some Gundam robot sets over here. All that stuff. And those are things that when I get in the zone, every once in a while, I pay attention to it. I'll show you guys this. I have a whole drawer. See, the word left my mind right now. Filled with things that I'll use to fidget with. So I have things like, I have a sort of guitar picks that I'll just fuck with, or maybe I'll pull the guitar or the mandolin over and mess around on it. I have all these little like memory game things. And oh, this one's rad. I found this and I was like, whoa, this is the shit. Look at this. Look at this bullshit. The Oregon Trail. And no, it's legit. Look at this. Look, here's the power button, right? All right, let's zoom in on that. Look at that. No, kitty, get out of my thing. Yeah, and it's got all the controls and everything for playing on it. It's really good. If you find this, you can usually find it at Target for like $13. And I will totally sink into this. God, I love this game. And I will sink the shit into that. And I will be on the Oregon Trail. It fucks with my head that the game actually takes place in part here in Independence, Missouri. That was why I thought I had to get it. I was like, what? I totally forgot about that part. And so it's kind of a trip. But I have other things too. Like I have these, one of the things I love is my storyteller dice. So these are different dice that have different symbols and objects on it. And I use them whenever I'm kind of struggling with a story idea, or maybe something's not working for a poem. And well, I don't want to talk about that yet. There's a project I'm working on that's going to involve them that I hope you guys are going to like. That's for a different video project. But I have a lot of things like that. And sometimes when I'm doing that, I realize that I need that time to isolate myself and go and focus on something that will allow me to reset myself so that I can be better engaged in the projects I want to do and not waste time maybe, because those things are quick. I can mess with something like that for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and it's not like sitting back and watching a Netflix show. Conversely, like whether it's Twitch or Netflix or Hulu or whatever, any streaming service, I can listen to that or watch it even whenever I'm drawing. In fact, like this is my drawing table here in front of me, and that's my digital workstation. Right here in front of me is where all my comic book stuff is. And this camera, this is what I'm looking at. I'll play Netflix on this, and then I Bluetooth hook up the speakers to it, and I can look up and watch that and keep on drawing or just glance up every once in a while. So do I consider that to be multitasking? No, I do consider that to be multi-input because I don't necessarily have to reciprocate. I simply hit play and go along with it. And I guess the whole reason I'm bringing this up about multitasking is just think about what you do in life. Because there are a lot of times whenever I have found that when I thought I was multitasking, I wasn't quite doing the job I thought I was. And this has become readily apparent in so many of my efforts where I really had to be crystal clear with what I was trying to accomplish with not only my job and my personal life and friendships and things like, well, how long has it been since I've talked to this person? God, I haven't been to lunch with this person in a long time, or whatever the case is. And when those sort of things happen, I realize maybe I was trying to either multitask or just put a lot of precedence on things that didn't matter as much. I don't know. This was definitely a weird one, and I hope you guys enjoyed the stories I've been telling and stuff like that. Even if I seem like I'm in a dour mood, most of this, remember, a lot of this is cathartic for me as I flash this thing like I'm going to get some sort of fucking promotional shit like, drink Coke! Seriously, I don't really like Pepsi that much. I do like it every once in a while. And I was watching something about Max Headroom earlier, and I forgot, like, that he had any product placement kind of shit for that. But I really thought it was Catch the Wave, which was Coke. And I was right. I was thinking about that because I was thinking of pirate television station incidents. And there was one that happened, I think, right around the time that he was on the air, where somebody had taken over they had pirated two different stations, and this weird thing where somebody was wearing a Max Headroom mask. It was surreal. Stuff like that, man, that's a whole nother interest and hobby of mine. But see, multitasking. Maybe my bad is multitasking in my hobbies. Because I haven't touched a lot of these other things as much as I'd like to. You know, the other hobby things I have, from building stuff, all this other stuff. I have tons of books I haven't read. But I wouldn't want to multitask and do them. I'd want to focus on them. So, I don't know. Oh, I'm going to show you guys this real quick before I get off here. Check this shit out. Every once in a while, I'll find like something that I'm like, oh, this is rad. I thought I knew what this was when I saw it. It turned out to be something else completely different, and I now want to find the localization of it, but I'm going to go ahead and read it, just looking at what's on there, because, and this is what this is. So this is a little manga. I don't know what the title is. I got to find it, but it's got gorgeous artwork, and from the best I can tell, it's about a couple of friends and their cats. And I don't know what it's about, but I'm going to read through it. It's got some funny things. It's very Comey Can't Communicate. It's in that zone, that slice of life kind of stuff that I love, because a lot of my comics are based on that. So maybe I'll get through this and maybe recommend a few books on one of the future ones that I really liked. In fact, that is something I'm going to do. Every once in a while, I'm going to showcase, I'm not going to do book reviews, but I'll kind of showcase some books from my collection that I really love and just kind of talk about those things because I want to. And it would be really nice to give me an excuse to go back and read some of these things. But I picked it up. It was $10 at this place called Cargo Largo, which is kind of like a recovery sales outlet. That's what it used to be called. So anyway, if anyone knows this, like this, what this is, there's nothing to look it up. I looked inside and there is no information I can find in English because it's the non-translated version, and I can't find anything anywhere. So I was going to take a picture and try and do a reverse image search to see what the hell this is, but I don't know what it is. It's like, all this is a Neko no Otera no Chion San. Yeah, I don't know. That I've never seen that spelled out phonetically. But man, the artwork in here, like, I am blown away when I see manga artists work. That is some shit. It makes me feel inferior about myself since I'm like, I don't ink like that. I wouldn't want to ink like that. I like how I ink. Anyway. Once again, thanks for watching, guys, and I will catch you in the next video, my next journal. I do appreciate those of you that are watching and that are commenting. It means a lot, sincerely.